All right, welcome back to the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew with our guest picker, Patrick the Picker, otherwise known as Tricks Picks 4121 on your Instagram channel. How are you, Patrick?
Good. Welcome back. It's been a while.
Patrick has not been here since December 17th.
A lot of work.
So we're happy to have him back, and he's got some good lines for us for the NFL games today. The show looks pretty standard. We're going to talk a little bit about the college football championship game, which was a debacle, an absolute just slaughtering.
Joke.
We'll go into a little bit of college hockey. We've got some good featured games. We're going to talk a little bit about pairwise and the poll that everybody is looking at. It's a lot different than the USCHO poll. We'll talk a little bit college basketball, and then, of course, we'll go into the meat of the weekend because it is wild card weekend. Talk about the 6 NFL games that we have between now and Monday. And then lastly, we've got some stuff in our women's section. We did call it correctly last week with Alyssa, and it was Alyssa Thompson is her name. She was the number 1 pick in the professional women's soccer league, the NWSL. She ended up going to Angel City. So you heard it here first, folks. Patrick, tell us a little bit about what's been going on with you in the last month of your life. Patrick has been firsthand in the airline industry. He's had 2 incidences where you had cancellations with Continental or Southwestern.
I was like, is Continental even around anymore?
That's U.S. Air now, right?
Busy.
Continental is with U.S. Air now.
The holidays fell on the weekend, so I think we didn't do one of the shows, and then I just been busy and just getting back to it. The calendar has turned. The playoffs are here. The college playoffs are finally over. It was a dud, but it's good to be back and get the schedules back on. I'm heading to Alaska here at the end of the month, and he's got some info of the college hockey against Alaska, so I might be able to go check out their barn, seeing if they have a home game when we're there. I'm going up to Anchorage and then maybe places beyond. We never know, but that'll be my first vacation of the year.
Awesome. And I believe DU has played Alaska twice now. They did a home and away series, so you won't get a chance to see DU, but possibly, you could go in there and see them play against some other different squads that they've got going on.
The miles they must travel.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, any of these sports teams in either Hawaii or Alaska, I mean, your away games are long road trips. I don't know how they do that.
Hope the boosters have some money.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be tough for the teams like the volleyball teams and the basketball teams, the ones that have to play during the week and stuff. And I guess the hockey team, most of those you're just talking weekend trips. So, but anyways, well, let's go in. We're going to talk a little bit about Jim Harbaugh too, so don't forget about that. We'll bring up, because we're here in Denver, and Denver is coachless right now, and they are looking really hard at Harbaugh. They're trying to woo him away from Michigan, and Michigan is negotiating a contract with Harbaugh, and we'll talk about that too. Let's talk about this absolute horrible national championship game. 65-7, UGA repeats. First time a team has repeated since 11-12, which was Alabama. It was 17-7 after the first quarter. I mean, I felt like, okay, we knew that TCU came out a little slow, but I didn't expect it to continue down this road where they never scored again. 38-7 at halftime, and then 27 unanswered points in the second half for UGA. And what does that equal? 65-7. They put in their third and fourth team, and TCU still had their first team squad in there, and UGA was still scoring points.
Well, TCU got behind all year, and you can't get behind an SEC team of that caliber. SEC dominance once more, and not a whole lot more to talk about. They dominated from start to finish. Last year for that quarterback, there's how many pro quarterbacks that are his age or younger. So it'll be the time for them to move on from him.
We were teasing last week. I said that he was like 37 years old. He's 25. I think he's going to be 26. And the quarterback I was trying to remember that played for Florida State was Chris Wenke, right? Was that his name?
Winky.
Yeah, he was an older quarterback that won the Heisman Trophy back in the early 2000s. He had a short, cup of coffee in the NFL. Didn't really work out so well, but he did get, pretty high draft pick, and he won the Heisman. Stetson Bennett, we'll have to see where he ends up next year. So far, I see him doing a lot of Cane's commercials, serving chicken fingers. So it'll be interesting to see it.
He'll go into the college football, maybe Hall of Fame, just based off stats and numbers. NFL material, I don't see happening. I mean, there is the XFL starting again, so there may be a job somewhere else out there for him. But it'll be time for him to move on to a new quarterback next year. He got a couple reps at the end of the game, actually, so that'll be kind of their future going in there. And you never know with the transfer portal who can come in and who may go, but. Dominant, boring game. If you're an SEC fan, it's nothing new to you, but for the people who wanted to overtake Georgia or any part of the SEC, did not get their wish. Some side notes about the stadium. SoFi, no tailgating. The rain came down like Africa, if you will, over there. And because they have the open, it was kind of blowing on a lot of the fans. The college football review of the stadium was not very good.
Interesting. Wow.
Based off no tailgating. California's been getting the rain bad, so usually doesn't rain that much down there in SoCal. But for a Southern team and a Texan team to go into LA, they were not wooed and wow. They got a lot of bad reviews on the stadium. The stadium is actually really nice, but with the no tailgating, the bad weather, because it's open.
How can you have a college football championship game with no tailgating? Tailgating is such an integral part of college football, so I can see why people were upset. We wanted to just remind you that we are broadcasting today live from the Brothers Bar and Grill. It's at the shop of Northfield. Okay, those of you that are in the Denver metro area, we are just north of I-70 between exits of Quebec and Central Park Boulevard. Come on down and check us out. I talked about this last night or last week. Brothers has brand new TVs all around the bar and all outside. So come on in and watch it. We've got games going on. Anything you want to request, they pretty much can put up, including college hockey. So don't be shy. Come on down and have a couple good beers with us and have some food and stuff like that as well.
Big selection of beers.
Big selection. We're up in the mezzanine section. You're always welcome to join us. We used to get quite a few people that would come up here and sit and watch the show. We need to start advertising a little bit more and get those people back. But in the meantime, anytime you want to come up here, if you come up and watch the show, we've got beer specials for you, free beers, etc. So tell your friends and come on down. All right, so some of the little basic things. The last thing I want to say about this college football championship, Bennett, okay, Stetson Bennett, 18 for 25, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Let's compare him with Duggan, 14 for 22, the quarterback for TCU, 152 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's not going to win you a national championship. Brock Bowers had a breakout game. The tight end, who everyone's talking about, he has another year left, folks. He's only a sophomore. He'll be back at Georgia. He had a great game, 7 receptions, 152 yards, 1 touchdown. And then McConkley, their talented wide receiver, had 5 receptions, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Davis, 5 receptions, 101 yards, 0 touchdown for TCU. So you can see the difference. I mean, the stats tell it all. The scores tell it all. It was just beat down by Georgia.
Yeah, it was a beat down. TCU had no time to throw the ball, so a couple hurries, a couple turnovers. He was getting sacked by the second and third team the entire second half. And then Brock Bowers, they talked a lot about him because he will be the top tight end prospect. He just has wide receiver speed in a tight end's body.
He's unreal. And he can catch the ball like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, so Notre Dame kid will be the top tight end, it looks like, this year. And as Jim said, they have 1 more year eligibility. So he'll play 1 more year before being eligible for the draft. And, barring any crazy injuries, You may even see him go possibly top 5 if he can prove to be a good run blocker, as well as his skills as a receiver at the tight end position.
It's interesting too. He wears number 19, which, by the way, is the same number that Hines Ward wore when he played at Georgia back when. So maybe he'll have the same kind of career that Hines Ward has had. Of course, he's a little bit more talented, I think, coming out of college than Hines Ward was. Remember, Hines Ward played a little bit of quarterback when he was at Georgia as well as wide receiver and tight end, and wherever they needed him really at the time. So, all right, well, I hate to say it, but college football, we have to put it to bed for another season, another year. What a great year. What are your impressions of this year's college football? I mean, I know TCU took us by storm. They were 5-7 last year, and they end up coming back and just absolutely playing.
Well, the expansion will be what? The expansion will be the next big thing to talk about.
It's not next year, though. It comes in
2024.
Yeah, so we've got the final 4 again, college football for next year, and then in 2024, we expand to 12.
I think that's what people are eventually going to look forward to either way, though, because, I mean, Ohio State gave Georgia every little bit that they could take. I mean, wide left. You have a good kicker, you're not talking Georgia, you're talking Ohio State, TCU, it's a whole different thing. Georgia kind of took that as a wake-up call and put their pedal to the metal. But I guess the transfer portal, all the happenings, being a Notre Dame guy, we are getting a quarterback in the transfer portal from Wake Forest, so lost a quarterback to Arizona State.
He's a good quarterback too.
Yes, Sam. So it'll be, I think, the transfer portal almost like free agency a little bit. I think that's what you'll look forward to, and then I think people are, I don't know about excited, nervous, but when you expand to 12, you have those moments where Georgia may not make it through 2 slips like that. They made it through 1 slip and then obviously killed TCU. But
now the FCS, which is Division I AA, they have, and they've had this for years, they have a 16-game or 16-team tournament every single season. Okay, we mentioned a little bit last week about North Dakota versus South Dakota for that championship last Sunday. Just wanted to let you know that South Dakota State ended up beating North Dakota, and North Dakota had won 9 out of the last 11 national championships. So it was a big win for South Dakota. Governor Kristi Noem was all excited and just going crazy. So good for South Dakota, good for the Jackrabbits, and good for FCS. So it's what I'm sad about is that it's too bad instead of just going to 12, why didn't they go to 16? And I think a lot of it had to do with a lot of the bigger bowls. And
it's
some
money and bowls.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
The NCAA, and whether you want to believe they're crooked or not, but there's a business there that they're running, and they had to get last minute approval for the bowl games coming up for the expansion. So it's over. We got playoffs coming up for the NFL, and it'll be spring ball for college before you know it. I mean, it doesn't really end. Kids will work out through the winter, and then they'll move on.
All right, well, let's do this. We're going to move into college hockey a little bit, okay? I was on the phone last night to the GM for Cornell University Hockey, Scotty Howard, getting some, input. They are poised to play this evening against Boston University in Boston. So he called me from the hotel room and basically he was telling me that this time of year, almost everybody switches from the USCHO poll over to the pairwise rankings. So we're going to make the transition as well.
Doesn't that game have a name? Boston University versus Boston College?
Well, it's Boston University playing against Cornell.
Oh, it's Cornell.
It's Cornell, yep. So,
Gotcha.
but Boston College BU, it would be a good matchup because both teams are ranked in the top 20 right now.
And they usually play it at
probably the Fleet Center, right?
The Garden, the fake Garden,
which is the Fleet Center Garden, the new
the
Garden.
Bruins play.
Yep. All right, so just we had a big change last week. Denver ended up splitting with Alaska. It hurt them. They ended up dropping 4 places to number 4. Minnesota is number 1. Quinnipiac, and we're going to talk a little bit about Quinnipiac because they played against Patrick's Notre Dame, and it was an interesting game. It looks like Notre Dame pulled it out. That's a spoiler alert. Quinnipiac's 2. Penn State. Who in the heck even remembers Penn State being any good in hockey? I'll tell you what, a couple of the Cornell coaches and assistant coaches went down and helped build that program, and we're starting to see some very big, some good stuff come through for fruition. I mean, number 3 for Penn State, I've never seen them that high in hockey.
We talked about it. I mean, it might have been the last show I was on with you. I think the 17th or the one before that. About there's a little bit more parity in college hockey. How quickly Arizona State became a Division I, school to play on, and you're seeing a lot more with the weekly matchups.
Because you had said that Arizona State was a club team for a while.
They were club. I mean, they went from club to Division I like that. So I mean, hockey has gotten attention in state cities that it wasn't quite once prolific on. But yeah, Penn State. And every time you show the list, they just keep moving up.
It's hard to believe. One of the things too, folks, you have to remember the difference in the college landscape now is this transfer portal makes it so that when a coach changes programs, or also anything that happens, because of this transfer portal, you can see teams just turn around in 1 year's time. I mean, we saw it with the USC Trojans in football with Lincoln Riley going there. I mean, he brought in like 16 guys.
You're going to see it with Dion coming to Colorado.
Absolutely. We're hoping that happens.
A lot of people from that division, which, Dion kind of made that division relevant again, are going to go into...
Are you talking about the HBC?
Yes. They're going to go from there, and they're going to come up here. And, I mean, he flat out told a lot of the kids there, you're pretty much gone, whether you like it or not. I'm bringing my guys in. His son's coming in to play quarterback. So, yeah.
The biggest loss for CU is their kicker. Their kicker was a really big factor for them. Probably the only positive thing on their offensive, in their entire offensive, regime. He's transferring out, but they're bringing in 2 different kickers, so there'll be a little tryout. Remember, Mason Crosby, the great for Green Bay, used to kick for CU. Matter of fact, I was up at CU, and I'm standing down just outside of the end zone where you see the black, the black kind of goes up, it kind of goes up. And Mason Crosby was kicking field goals at me and just missed me like 2 times. I was over talking to one of the coaches, and he thought it was really funny. And
he's aiming for you?
He was aiming for me. I think so. I mean, I would have guessed that. I mean, he almost hit me. But he may have just been trying to scare me. But that's my moment with Mason Crosby. I waved to him, and he was just like, told me to move over because we were standing, underneath the field goals, but we were sitting way back. So, but they
got their bad karma last Sunday. Don't worry.
Anyways, so number 4 is Denver. DU drops from 1 to 4. First time they're out of the number 1 position all season.
They're claiming to be the state of hockey. Better pick it up.
Yeah. Number 5, St. Cloud State. Seth's team. Seth's not real happy this morning. One of our local teams, Colorado College, was able to beat St. Cloud State 4-2. We're going to feature.
I'm telling you, they're getting better.
It could be that barn down there, that new barn.
It's the new barn. Vinny's got the season tickets. He gives me the scoop.
Yep. So St. Cloud State is going to. They're sitting in a hotel down there in Colorado Springs, probably looking out at Pikes Peak, thinking, "What the heck hit us last night?" Because remember last week, St. Cloud State played against Minnesota, who was number 1, and they ended up splitting. They won at St. Cloud State, and then they went over and played in Minneapolis and lost. But still, anytime you split with the Minnesota Gophers, it's not a bad thing.
They're probably thinking, what a nice day it is. We finally are at -20 and snowing every day.
That's true.
We've had a streak of 5 days. They probably haven't seen weather like this all year.
Exactly. Colorado Springs may hit 60 today. I don't know. I know it's going to be in the mid-50s here in Denver today.
About time.
Number 6, Ohio State. They played a tough game against Michigan. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Bitter rivals. Remember, Ohio State, Michigan. It's not just a football rivalry. Both schools hate each other passionately. Boston University, number 6, they are squaring off against Cornell tonight, as I said earlier. Number 8, Michigan, played against Ohio State. A little spoiler alert, didn't work out so well for Michigan. Western Michigan and Cornell are both at 10. Cornell has come a long way. They are 10-5-1. Western Michigan 13-9-1. Number 12, Michigan Tech. Number 13, Providence. Number 14 is Merrimack out of Massachusetts. Michigan State 14, and Merrimack and Michigan State are both at 14. Number 16 is Connecticut, UConn. Number 17, Minnesota State. Notre Dame, 18.
The teams have all been the same in the top 20-25. They just kind of keep moving a little.
I want to make sure this is pairwise. Here's the pairwise ranking.
You know, UConn's another one of those teams we talked about weeks ago that you hadn't heard a whole lot in college hockey. And so you got a Connecticut team, and then you got...
Well, they built that really nice facility. And you know what? If you build it, they will come. That's a Field of Dreams line from the movie, but it's true. You build a nice facility, and you will be able to get people to transfer, and you will get people to stick around in your facility. I mean, look at another, North Dakota is a perfect example. They play at the Ralph, in that big stadium up there. They're consistently good. Speaking of North Dakota, they come in at 21 this week. Boston College 19, Alaska 20, UMass Lowell is 22, Massachusetts UMass is 23, RIT 24, Omaha, Nebraska Omaha is 25th, and then we'll kind of round this out at Bemidji State at 26. Colorado College, folks, is at 27. Look for them to move up marketably, probably into the top 20 after their victory this weekend.
I think they're going to finish in the top 25-20 this year.
Colorado College?
Yeah, they've had some big wins.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally they've been great.
Maybe not so good, but
Colorado College's coach is a Union graduate. He was a goalie for Union, and Union College back in the day, this is probably 10, 15 years ago, was one of the top teams for a number of years. He then went and he did a little bit of graduate work at Cornell, got his feet wet in coaching, and then he's kind of bounced around and ended up in Colorado College. So it's kind of cool. My friend Scotty Howard is good friends with the guy. All right, so let's talk about the 4 featured games, and we'll start out with the Ohio State at Michigan matchup. Number 6 Ohio State versus number 8 Michigan. Ohio State absolutely crushed them, 7-2. And they did not only just crush them, but if you look at the first period where Michigan did score 1 goal, Ohio State scored 1 goal. Ohio State had 23 shots on goal compared to Michigan's 7. Okay, that's a lot. They poured it on in the second period. They scored 5 goals with 22 shots on goal. What happened with Michigan? Only 9 shots on goal. Now, the third period, it looks like they dropped into a prevent defense and basically just kind of trying to defend. It looks like they got an empty netter at the end but you had 7 and 5 shots for both teams. So Michigan, was down by 7 points, 6 points, 6 goals, and they only shot 5 times in the third period. So it looks like Ohio State just outskated them.
Came out flat, got outplayed, outskated. I mean, the shot differential.
It's unbelievable. The shot
Can't win
differential.
games like that.
52 shots for Ohio State, 21 for Michigan. You're not going to win allowing another team to have 52 shots on goal.
The nice thing is the home-on-homes usually get 2 games, so if you throw up a dud, come back the next and try to split, especially if you're the road team. That's
You're
your
absolutely
goal.
right.
I don't know if it'll happen, but that's the goal.
Yep. So then we move into number 1 Michigan, Minnesota playing against number 18 Notre Dame. Again, this game started out 1-1 in the first period. Notre Dame added a second goal in the second period, and that's all they really needed to tie with Minnesota. Minnesota had 14 shots on goal in the first period, Notre Dame 8. Minnesota did about the same thing in the second period with 11 shots, and then Notre Dame had 7. The third period, 9 and 6. Minnesota was able to add a second goal to tie it up, and then they went to overtime where Minnesota had 4 shots on goal and Notre Dame only had 1. Someone told me downstairs, Seth, our great GM here and my partner here, he said that Notre Dame won in a shootout.
Yeah, they do the shootouts, which don't go against the, he was saying...
it doesn't count against you as a loss, but they have to have somebody who wins.
Gotta have a winner.
Which I do like that. So
Irish are mediocre. They're playing tough, but they're not as good as the last few years where they've been able to make a little run in the Frozen Four tournaments. But they've been right around there. They get a win here and there, but I haven't seen anything out of them. You can catch some of so they're all NBC, so the Peacock is where used to be able to watch Notre Dame hockey on NBC Sports until they folded the channel. Then you could catch them on the Peacock. I haven't caught as many games this year. A lot of football games and not many hockey games. It's been a busy holiday and end of the year, but
Well, excellent.
a win's a win against a good team. Minnesota's a good team.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful, especially when they're just 18 and they're just. So you look for Notre Dame to move up in the polls, even depending upon what happens tonight if they do lose. All right, the game that happened right down here in Colorado Springs, big victory for Colorado College, 4-2 against number 5 St. Cloud State. Again, Seth is an alumnus there, and he's not happy. Let's look at the breakdown. St. Cloud State had 21 shots on goal in the first period and scored 1 goal. Colorado College, no goals and 6 shots on goal. So it looks like St. Cloud State came out, shooting tough. Colorado College goalie just, and he continued to just play way above his head. Second period, Colorado College scores 2 goals, 11 shots on goal. St. Cloud State, no goals, 9 shots on goal. So it looks like St. Cloud State slowed down a little bit. Maybe they hit the wall. Who knows? Remember, they're playing at altitude, so that can affect these college kids.
Altitude, road game.
Road game too, yeah, absolutely.
Road games are tough.
Third period, Colorado College adds 2 more goals, 7 shots on goal. St. Cloud State starts skating really hard. They add 1 goal with 14 shots on goal, but it is not enough. 4-2. The overall shots on goal, 24 for Colorado College, and you don't see this often. 24 for Colorado College, 44 for St. Cloud State. So St. Cloud State had 20 more shots on goal. Hats off to Colorado College's goalie.
It's usually when you get outshot by that, it's not even close.
No,
let alone
absolutely.
win a game.
So it'll be interesting to see if Colorado College skates a little harder tonight and gets a little bit more shots on goal. Or, you know what, the way it looks at St. Cloud State.
St. Cloud State's the better team.
Oh, of course.
They were able, sometimes that's hockey. That's just hockey.
And you've got Colorado College is ranked in pairwise right now at 27. Now, watch for them to jump up probably 4 to 6 spots just on this victory alone. All right, and then our hometown boys, DU, who have dropped from number 1 to number 4, played against Miami of Ohio, who's ranked 42nd pairwise. Miami of Ohio has been pretty much the doormat of the NCHC for a number of years. Let's see what happened here. It looks like in the very beginning, DU comes out with 12 shots on goal in the first period versus Miami with 6 shots. Neither team is able to score. Miami does not score in the second period with 6 shots. All of a sudden, DU just wakes up and explodes and crushes them with 6 goals in the second period on 18 shots. That means 1 out of every 3 shots on goal was a goal. Period 3, Miami did not score at all. They had 8 shots on goal. DU adds probably what is an empty netter on 9 shots. Overall, we've got 39 shots for DU versus 20 shots for Miami. Again, we have a 7-0 game. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that?
DU's moved down a few spots. I just think it's kind of the mid-season. You said they lost to Alaska. They needed a nice beat-up of somebody, so that was them. I think DU, I think you're going to see them in the Frozen Four. They've got a good squad.
Okay,
A good squad.
I agree with you on that too. We're hoping so badly just to be able to see them able to defend their national championship title. If they make it to the Frozen Four, it'd be great. First thing they need to do is just make sure they get into the Frozen 16 or whatever they call that.
They'll be in.
I think they will too.
They'll be in. They'll be probably a 1 seed.
Yeah. And remember,
they'll be a 1 seed, and then
the way they pick those 16 teams, there are 10 automatic bids, people that win conference championships. So there are only 6 at-large bids in that tournament.
Do you know where the Frozen Four is?
I'm not sure where it is
I'm
this
going to
year.
look it up.
Check it out.
I'm curious. Almost went a few years ago, pre-COVID, and my brother and I never pulled the trigger on going.
I wish I could have gone up. They did a semifinal game of the Frozen Four, the regionals right up here in Loveland last year, but it was so hard to get a ticket because DU, of course, was in it. So those tickets went fast, and I wasn't able to get one, and I didn't feel like going up and scalping one. While Patrick's looking this up, we're going to move towards college basketball. I'm not going to get into too much of the top 25. We will mention the top 10. So it's in Tampa is what you're saying?
Yeah, 2023 Tampa, and 2024 will be in St. Paul, where the Wild play, the Excel Energy Center. 2025 St. Louis at the Enterprise Center. 2026 Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. That's where the Golden Knights play.
Yeah.
I guess they're trying to venture out to some new. I mean, Tampa has won the Stanley Cup and been the force in hockey for the last 5 years.
They've got a nice facility. My friend Scott Howard, the GM for Cornell, was at a Tampa Bay Lightning game. He went down to visit some family just before Christmas, and he sent me a ton of pictures from the Tampa Bay facility, and it was just top notch.
And the NHL All-Stars this year, after doing it in Vegas last year, will be in where the Panthers play.
Oh, okay.
So I guess they're trying to get these guys to some warmer locations for the winter.
Yeah, why not? College basketball, let's talk a little bit about the top 10, okay? We'll start off with the fact that Purdue has been number 1 for a number of weeks. They have dropped down to number 3. Taking over for them is 17-1 Houston. 15-1 Kansas is number 2. Purdue is still 15-1, but at number 3. Alabama, representing the SEC, is 14-2 at 4. Tennessee, who's playing right now in a tough game against Kentucky, we'll keep you up on that one. At halftime, Kentucky was up, so Tennessee's got a little bit of work to do to stay at number 5 and beat Kentucky this afternoon. UConn is 15-3 at 6. UCLA 15-2 at 7. The Zags, we'll talk a little bit about a game I watched them play against BYU on Thursday night. What a game, folks. They pull it out, the Zags pull it out and remain 15-3, and they are at 8.
6.5 favorites. It took them last possession to get the win.
It was a last possession. Well, there was one more possession. BYU had a chance at the end, and they kind of just messed it up. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. Arizona number 9, and Texas is number 10 at 14-2. All right, so one of the other games that I was able to watch was this Michigan at Iowa game. It went into overtime, and Iowa ended up pulling it out. Michigan's got a good offense. Howard is doing a good job as coach. He took over for John Beilein a couple years back. His son is playing for him, and his son scored over 30 points, was well on his way to 40-plus game, and just kind of cooled off a little bit down the stretch. The game went into overtime, where Iowa scored 14 points in the overtime. Michigan only scored 5, and unfortunately for Michigan, they lost. What a game. It was really fun to watch a good Big Ten matchup like that.
I'm just looking at your rankings here, and I mean the parity from all the conferences. You got a couple in the Pac-12.
Yep.
The Zags are always kind of in their own, ahead of their own category.
WCC.
Kansas, Purdue. You got the SEC's getting better every year. UConn kind of back to relevancy in 2 sports, I guess.
What we don't see is we don't see a single ACC team. Okay?
No Syracuse, no Clemson.
No Syracuse, no Clemson, no UNC, and no Duke.
I think the parity,
or Virginia for that matter.
I'd look out for some. I was watching Dayton and VCU last night. I'm not sure how Dayton lost, but
the Zips.
They the size that I don't think I've seen a team all year with the size. I think just getting them coached up and a little bit into the molding of a college basketball player. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these 8, 9, 10s, 6 to 10s, we'll call it 11s, make a run here in March.
Yeah. I know, and we're a long ways off. Remember, we're still in the second week of January, so we've got a lot of conference play. We've got a whole nother month before we even start talking about it. Actually, another 6 weeks after January before you really start playing the tournament games. So lots of basketball to be played. Lots of things can happen. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Zags, number 8 Zags, played against BYU at BYU. And this has become a real rivalry over the last couple of years. People, if you get a chance to watch BYU play in BYU, it is absolutely fascinating. They have this thing called rock, paper, scissors, which is basically a distraction, this massive distraction behind the goal, the backboard for the visiting team, and they have things, these blow up things that go flying up in the air, and you're trying to distract them. They've got these 3 things that go back and forth like this, and basically it's to mess with your eyes. And they've got spinning things that are hypnotizing you. They're yelling. They all stand up. As soon as you get ready to shoot your shot, they all stand up. So that's the total distraction. And you watch a team like the Zags.
That's a BYU thing, for sure.
Totally is. But you watch a team like the Zags who don't miss free throws. And they were struggling. I mean, down the stretch, I saw Timmy miss 2. The front end, the two shot fouls, and he misses both ball.
I feel like he's been in college basketball for as long as Stenson.
I feel like he's in his 7th or 8th year.
It's got to be his senior year, right? He has to have no more years left.
I'm telling you, he's used that COVID thing. I think this is his 5th year. I mean, he played the COVID year.
Stash.
But yeah, look for him to be in the top 5 picks, I think, for the NBA draft. So, anyways, it comes down to the end. And with about 5 minutes left, BYU is up by more than 10 points. Looks like they've got it handled. BYU's offense, they run kind of this picket fence kind of weave offense. They are just absolutely getting any shot they want. And all of a sudden, boom, they go cold. And that is the kiss of death against a team as good as the Zags. The Zags whittle their way back, ended up tying the game at the end. Strothers hits a 24-footer with, I thought he shot it a little early. He shot it with about 13 seconds left, which gave BYU an opportunity to come down, which they were not able to capitalize on and didn't even get a shot off. The Zag defender ended up actually getting a piece of the ball, and there BYU is disappointed because this is a game that they probably feel they should have had. They dominated pretty much mostly all game long.
Covered the spread, 6.5, so they outplayed what Vegas thought they were going to play, but still lost.
Well, that overtime really messed them up. With the 14 points Iowa scored and Michigan only scored 5 in the overtime, that really hurt them and helped Vegas. Well, it helped all the bettors out there.
In the Zags game.
In the Zags game, yeah. I'm sorry. I was talking about Michigan on Iowa. No, this game didn't go into overtime, so it was 75-74. Sorry about that. I'm reading my notes wrong. Thank you, Patrick. All right, so Friday, Nebraska played against Purdue. This game was nothing. Purdue won 73-55. It was 35-24 at half. I turned it off halftime. I had enough. I knew Purdue was going to win.
Purdue kind of on a comeback here, so I take their fans down to Orlando. They played LSU and Brian Kelly. They were down 35-0 at half in football, and on the same night their undefeated streak ended in basketball. So it was kind of a bad week to beat Purdue, but they got Nebraska in basketball and cleaned them up.
Absolutely.
Still number 3 according to the top 25 rankings. They're going to be a reckon. They'll be a 1 seed, maybe a 2 seed going in the tournament. They got size, talent.
Yep. I'm trying to look down to see if we can get a score for the Tennessee.
54-50.
Did you see that down there?
Yeah, it's in the
53-45, right? Oh no, that's a different team. Well, anyway, some of the games that are going on today, right now, Kentucky is playing against number 5 Tennessee. We're going to try to get a score for you.
I'll get you.
Patrick's pulling it up.
53-50. So Tennessee's making a little bit of a comeback in the second half.
How much time's remaining?
3:50 on the clock.
Okay, so we're in crunch time. So we'll have to see whether or not Tennessee can play tough. Remember,
a good second half bet we were kind of talking about.
You were talking about an in-game bet.
Jim
Gould. Unfortunately, me right here, Dr. Jimbo, is 0 for 17 in his last 17 bets. So if you really want some betting advice, whatever I do, just do the opposite and you'll win. So maybe I should start bringing my bets into the show.
I'm just glad we got to play his team in the bowl game, or else we wouldn't have gotten a win.
Exactly. Yes, and I got to give Patrick some credit. Notre Dame played against South Carolina in the bowl game, and Notre Dame was able to beat us 45-39.
For once, he was louder than me at the bar.
Yes, that was great. That was fun.
We were getting the crazy eyes from the fans.
People were looking at us.
Notre Dame, South Carolina Gamecocks was the game.
Yes. Catholics versus Cox. Colorado plays a tough game against number 7 UCLA. The line on that game is minus 11.5 for UCLA. By the way, Kentucky-Tennessee was plus 10 Kentucky before the game started. Big game for my boss, Matt. And Matt is just a huge Iowa State fan, Iowa State alumni. Number 14, Iowa State, and they have jumped. They jumped from 25 to 14 this week, folks. Watch for them. They're playing against number 2, KU. KU is a 6.5-point favorite. But I'm telling you right now, my heart of hearts tells me the momentum is with Iowa State, and I am going with Ohio State to actually cover in this game. I'll go that far. I think they can win by 7 or more points. They're playing that well right now.
It's conference time.
What do you think?
Conference time, it's a lot of underdogs. Home field advantage is a big thing, but yeah, I'm looking at the spreads. We got 11.5 UCLA's favorite. We got 6.5 KU. I like the underdogs today. 11.5 is too many against UCLA. Iowa State 6.5. I'll take 6.5. TCU, K-State 3.5. When you see those soft leans on the home games, I like to go with the home teams. So I'd probably take the 3.5. If you want to buy it down to 3, buy it down to 3. But conference times, rivalries, you're going to see some big spreads. I mean, these are college kids, and on a given day, anything can happen. But I like the underdogs.
Oh, very good. And I was mistaken. Matt, my coworker and colleague, is a huge Zags fan. Okay, Matt, I know you're going to be listening out there. I'm sorry, you're definitely not my boss, but I think you're a great guy, and I'm really looking forward to working with you. He is a big alumni of Gonzaga. My boss' name is Ted. Ted, I'm sorry. It's still early on. Just started working for you.
It's early in the day for us. We're still wrapping our
I've only
heads
had 1.5 beers, but honestly, and he's a huge. Okay, so Ted is the huge Ohio State fan, and he's my big boss. So I've got to make sure I straighten that out.
Iowa State.
Okay. All right, number 11, K-State is going to play against number 17, TCU. TCU is favored by 3.5 points. Sunday, another good game for you guys to watch. Number 25, Marquette is going to play at number 12, Xavier. And then Monday night, I know you've got a big game that's going to compete against this. We have the Dallas versus Tom Brady's Buccaneers. But if you get a chance and you're a little bored, switch it over to the Syracuse Orange, who will be playing number 16, Miami, Florida. So, the odds on that, Patrick never got those?
No, they're not really
yet.
out yet. You can get them in Vegas, but in terms of the betting apps and CBS, they don't have them posted yet.
Anything, what are your feelings on college basketball besides that? You had said some stuff about Mountain West and some of your betting trends.
Well, conference-wise, you get 11.5, 6.5. Those are big numbers. Last night I took some underdogs. I hit one of the 2 underdogs. And then the short line.
What'd you hit?
I had VCU. I'm not even sure how they won the game, but they had a hell of a second half. I didn't think, watching the game in the first half, I thought Dayton was going to kill them. I mean, the size and the strength, they got hot with the shots, and the coach, they really just got out-coached in the second half. I think the coach figured out the program. The other game I lost on was I had was Michigan State against Illinois. Michigan State was covering pretty much the whole game, and at the end, it went down to 5.5. They lost by 7. But with the bigger spreads in the conference games, I don't care who's good or who's bad. I like the bigger spreads, and then the at-home favorites when they're lower favorites, like TCU's 3.5. If you can get that closer to 3, take those lower at-home favorites. Nevada was a case of that last night. Tough game for most of the game. Nevada played Utah State. Utah State came out shooting really well, and then about the last 10 minutes, it just went all Wolfpack with Nevada, and covered it easily, handily in that one. I follow a lot of Mountain West. Shout out to the Lobos. They had a great year so far. Finally, first sellout, and I can't tell you how long. It's been a million years since they sold out the pit. Of course, they lost in Lobo fashion because that's what they do. 2 losses back-to-back. But they are playing San Diego State tonight. That'll be their big matchup. San Diego State always in the tournament. Currently, they went into the 23rd spot. Lobos fell out of the top 25. But I think it's 8.5. Give me the Lobos on the road. Big spread conference game. Not saying they're going to win, but against a good San Diego State team in San Diego, I would take the Lobos there. They're trending in a good direction.
Now, is Steve Fisher still at San Diego State?
I believe so.
I hadn't heard that he had left or anything. Because, I mean, San Diego State has always been the class of the Mountain West Conference as far as basketball goes. I mean,
for the
they're a
last
tough
10
team.
years, easy.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if Steve Fisher's still there. But remember, folks, if Steve Fisher coached the Michigan team that did extremely well and ended up winning back in, I think it was 1989.
No, Brian Dutcher. So Steve Fisher retired.
He did retire. Okay.
I want to say he retired at least a couple. They've been into the tournament twice, I think.
Okay. Yeah, Steve Fisher won against Seton Hall in 1989 in the NCAA.
And then the Lobos got his son, Petrino's son. Two sons are in college basketball. They have one of them. Turned the program around this year.
Very good. Again, we want to mention that we are at the Brothers Bar and Grill at the shops in Northfield. You can look over our shoulder here. We are up in the mezzanine section. So if you do come down here and want to come up and watch the show, just go over to the staircase, walk up the stairs, come on over, sit down right over here, and we will take good care of you. I will make sure Seth gives you, I'll tell you what, at least 2 or 3 beers. If not, I may buy them for you. Come down and see us. We used to get a pretty good crowd, actually, pretty decent. And we'll get that back. We're going to do some things with maybe hockey towards the end of the season, see if we can get some DU alum in here and some Colorado College, CC alumni as we call them here. We'll see how it goes. All right. Wild Card Weekend, buddy.
That's it, man.
Wild Card Weekend. One of my favorite weekends in NFL football is Wild Card Weekends. We've got a slate of 6 ball games. The first game does start here in just a moment, 2:30 Mountain Standard Time, and we have Seattle versus the San Francisco 49ers. Patrick comes in with a weather report from San Francisco where the game is being played. It looks like we've got a torrential downpour.
I think it's supposed to lighten up a little as the game time gets closer. They had the tarp on the field, but California's been, I mean, if you haven't watched the news, they're just getting crushed with floods and whatnot. ESPN had the live look in this morning, and it was pouring. It was pouring. I would really say, if you like some Wild Card Weekend, you got to go with it. If they're a big favorite, you usually push through with it. I mean, I do think the Niners are overwhelming the better team. Everybody's riding the Niners big, but the 9.5 in the bad weather, I'm just giving my pick early. Just give me the Hawks. I don't like the matchup, but I think with the weather, the field will be in decent condition with the tarp on it, but as soon as they pull it off, guys got to warm up. It's going to get, I mean, it's been getting thrashed all week anyhow.
What's the line on this game? Do you know?
9.5.
So it's 9.5, and you want to take
I'm taking the
Hawks
points.
with the points.
Yeah. And I mean, they could easily lose by 30. I mean, but I think the field, the way it is, you'll see. I mean, this is.
You're not worried about Christian McCaffrey being able to pick up the slack. Now, granted, he's talking about Walker the third, whose final 4 games have been over 100-yard games. Remember, this is going to end up if it's a bad field, we're going to look at, and we got to really look at the running game, and the running game is Walker versus. Basically McCaffrey.
You're talking 2 teams that they're conference rivals. They do not like each other, and I just think that when you get in the playoffs and you get these big spreads, they're hard to cover. Niners are coming to win this game. They would love to kill them, but they're coming to win the game. So they're not looking about covering 9.5. They could care less about that. And Tricky Pete, he doesn't like to be embarrassed, and he kind of made this little comment about how good they are and how maybe under-talented his team is. But they're playing on house money. They made it. They squeaked in at the end last week with the tiebreak and all that, and then winning the game at the. I mean, so they're playing on house money. So go for it. I take the 9.5.
All right, 49ers won both matchups this year. Again, this is Geno Smith's first playoff game. Remember, Geno Smith's been in the NFL for 10 seasons. That doesn't seem like he's been there that long.
Not like he's a rookie.
Now, Brock Purdy, he has been the talk of the NFL. You remember, Mr. Irrelevant. He was the 262nd pick in the draft, which is the very last draft pick. This guy is playing out of his mind. He has a quarterback rating of 119 in his first 5 starts. At no time in the modern era of the NFL has anyone who has been picked this low have this high of a quarterback rating in his first 5 games.
The talent around him is amazing, but he was good at Iowa State. He could sling it at Iowa State. I remember him, and I was kind of shocked he was, that late or whatever. Thankfully, the Niners had a backup to the backup plan because both their plans have been injured and done for the year. Good team around him. I do think he's going to be nervous. I do think with the weather you're going to see a lot of running of the ball. And that's, again, why I'm kind of favoring that 9.5. I don't love it, but that's why I'm doing it. He's going to be nervous. I mean,
what's the over and under on that? Do you happen to know? Because I think that might be a good bet to go with the under,
yeah, but
especially if the weather's so bad.
The over-under is at 42.5. The over-under is at 42.5. Both these teams can score, though. It'll be more or less what the weather looks like at game time. It was pouring. It's been pouring. I think the field's going to be sloppy. But Vegas knows this, too. Everybody says, well, it's snowing. It's a blizzard. Let's take Vegas knows it, too. So 42.5, that's a decent amount of points. All of the over-unders in the
it's 3 touchdowns apiece.
Well, and all the over-unders in the NFL this week are over 40. So the last couple of weeks, I mean, the AFC, your conference, has been putting some of the lowest over-unders I've ever seen. 35, 34s. Yeah, you could if you're liking the weather play there. Yeah, but these teams could easily put up a few points against each other. Defense, Niners, good defense. Hawks.
All right. Well, let's move on to the 6:15 game, Mountain Standard Time today. That is San Diego Chargers go to Jacksonville to play the Jags. And a lot of you may have been thinking, why does this happen? You know, you have 10-7 Chargers versus the 9-8 Jags. When you win your conference, that is put you in a higher seed. So that's kind of interesting.
Home field advantage.
Both of these teams have not seen the playoffs in a while. San Diego has not been in the playoffs since 2018. The Jacksonville Jaguars haven't been there since 2017. Mike Williams, big factor, okay? Last week, I don't know if a lot of you got a chance to see this, but San Diego, they're not San Diego anymore, they're LA. The Chargers played against the Broncos. Right before the kickoff, San Diego already, or I keep calling them San Diego.
We can call them the Redskins and Commanders. It's going to take years for this to work.
The Chargers knew that they were playing the Jags. And instead of sitting their starters, they ended up playing Mike Williams all the way into the fourth quarter. The guy has a back injury, totally unnecessary, and the Chargers have now lost their deep threat, which may affect really the way that Jacksonville's defense matches up against them.
I got a buddy who's a big Charger guy. He's a big San Diego, LA guy, and the people are calling for his head. And maybe late in the fourth quarter is what he's getting the flack for, but you either play the players or don't. The Giants didn't play. Some teams do. Coughlin with the Giants used to play the game against the Patriots, and it kind of put a momentum into the playoffs. So do what you want with it. I'm not going to hate on them too much. I mean, if you're going to predict injuries, then you need to go buy the mega ball ticket for the next drawing because it's hard to predict what's going to happen. Could he have been out there? Should he have been out there?
Well, there supposedly was a winner last night in the $1.3 billion Mega Millions jackpot.
Was it in New Mexico?
It wasn't in Colorado. I don't know if it was in New Mexico.
I got family there. I hope somebody hit it.
Well, we'll have to go down and check all those convenience stores at all those different trailer parks and stuff down in New Mexico. I'm just kidding.
The Chargers are 2.5 favorites, and the over/under is 47.5. 2.5 favorites. So a lot of people are loving. Yeah, pretty much. A lot of people are loving the Jags, and you know they've been on this roll and quarterback, running back situation. I do think it's odd that the money has shifted towards the Chargers. It was about 1.5, now it's 2.5. And usually when a team has to fly cross country like they are, especially in the betting, I thought it would maybe go closer to a pick 'em, 1.5 to a pick 'em. But it went the other way. I'm going to ride this wave of I'm going with the Chargers based off the money going on it. And I don't know. I think people are wanting Jacksonville to do something, right? Well, they played a quarterback that was horrible last week, a third stringer in Tennessee, and they needed a strip 6 to get the win with about 6 minutes left. Yeah. They're not that. I mean, the defense is not good. I think Herbert has a game here today. I think they run the ball. I think they run the ball, and they got a good backfield that can catch it out. I'm going to take the money sliding over there, and if you get it right now, you can even get it at a pretty decent rate at 2.5 on certain websites. So I'm going Chargers.
Chargers?
Just
okay.
a feeler.
And then just incidentally, I didn't put my pick in for the Seattle 49ers. I'm going with the 49ers. I think that they even cover, to be honest with you. I just have a feeling. I think Debo Samuels has a big game, and I think McCaffrey has a good game. As far as this one goes, I hear what you're saying. I think the home team has an advantage, but I think the Chargers, especially with all the pushback they've had because of this Mike Williams situation, I think they come out with a little chip on their shoulder, and I don't think Trevor Lawrence has enough to beat them. So my pick is going to go with the Chargers. And again, we're going to keep track and see how it goes next week.
47.5, it almost feels like an under to me. Money is going on the under. It almost feels like an under.
What's the weather like in Jacksonville today? Have you heard?
Probably sunny and
beautiful.
90 degrees as always.
Yeah.
No, I will get you the weather. But I think the only weather concern we had for today was in California.
Right.
Okay. Where usually we never have to worry about the weather in California.
Well, while you're checking out the weather, let's move into our Sunday slate. And at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, we've got the Dolphins versus the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Miami Dolphins 9-8, Buffalo Bills 13-3. Remember, they didn't get a chance to play the game against Cincinnati, so they only have 16 total games. Tua is out, and what I understand is Bridgewater is questionable.
I don't think he's going to play. I think they're going to play the third stringer.
They're going to play the third stringer.
That's why you see it 13.5. I mean, I know the Bills are good, but that's a lot. Yeah. For an NFL playoff game.
Over and under is 43.5. Is that what you got, Stowe?
The over-under is 43.5. That's right.
Okay.
Weather in Jacksonville is actually a little chilly today. 50, sunny.
Interesting.
And about 25 gusts. So a little breezy for those Florida folk.
Okay.
But back to the Bills, 13. I think the Bills are...
I think the Bills win by like 4 touchdowns.
I mean, it might be 10, but I just... 13, I don't know. 13.5. It's just something about 13.5. These are professionals.
The number 13 that's giving you the trouble?
Yeah.
Or the half?
The hook I like here. Yes, I think everybody is going to take Bills, and they're going to I think money's going to continue to pour on them too. If you're asking my honest opinion, give me the Dolphins. It's just one of those things where one thing's pointed. They come back after the guy going down and going to the hospital, the game canceling, and I think a lot of people are going to ride this.
Well, they split during the regular season, but that was when Tua was playing. I mean, we're talking they're going down to the bottom of the barrel. The third string quarterback they brought up from the practice squad.
Plus, so Frank on Barstool Sports is a Dolphins fan, and he said the Bills are the best team, and he's ready to kill his Dolphins. So for Frank's sake, I'm going to take the Dolphins as well. 13.5 though.
Okay.
13.5.
Well, we'll see. This is one where Patrick and I differ, so we'll see how it turns out towards next week. And you're going to be around next week for the show?
I think so. Let's check out the calendar.
Patrick's a busy guy. He's flying all over the country.
Yeah, should be in town next week. Excellent. And then I'm off to Alaska the week after.
Okay, so we know we'll be. I'm going to try to get Seth to come up. I'm going to go down and just basically tie a rope around him and drag his butt up here.
Yeah, we'll drag his ass up here.
All right, so I am going to pick the Bills. I think the Bills are going to win by way more than 13.5 points. The points don't even faze me. I think Josh Allen has a huge game. Ty Diggs. I bet you Ty Diggs has 2, maybe. Stephon Diggs has 2 touchdowns, maybe more.
If you're taking the 13.5, you're thinking they're going to win by 40 because it easily could happen. But I'm just.
I think they're going to.
When the NFL says do this, you got to do the opposite. That's just the way that operates.
We'll see. I mean, if Tua was playing, or even if Bridgewater was playing, it would be a totally different situation for me. This would be our number 4 game.
Yeah, 4th game.
And at 2:30 tomorrow, Patrick will be here at Brothers Bar and Grill, the shops of Northfield. The Giants 9-7-1 square off in Minneapolis against the Vikings 13-4. Patrick, you got the stage.
G-Men, I gotta go. I don't think it's going to be easy. They lost the last game on a 61-yarder. I do think that people have called the Minnesota a bad team all year, a lucky team. I'm not one of those people, but for the first time, I looked at the injury report yesterday. Whoever is healthy for the rest of the year is in. There's no questionables, there's no doubtfuls, and there's no outs. The defense is all back. I haven't really played together all year, so that'll be something different. The offensive line is healthy again. the metrics I was watching on Fox Sports, the metrics say everything in the Vikings, whatever, but the money seems to kind of be going the Giants and the feelers. Give me the Giants. Me and Seth have our friendly wager as we did last game too.
Of course, Seth is a huge Vikings fan, although Seth has cautioned us, and so do some of the other Minnesota fans here. Minnesota sports, you are supposed to bet against.
Bet against.
Spencer, one of our betting gurus here, he's the assistant general manager. He says, bet against Minnesota.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I don't see if I was looking at the player props, Danny Dimes, Danny turnovers, whatever you want to call him. His passing numbers aren't high, and I would go under. The rushing numbers is what I would lean towards. The over/under is at 48.5. I like under, but it is inside. It's going to be loud in there. I was at the first Monday night game at the U.S. Bank Stadium. And
Minneapolis?
Yes, I was at the first Monday night game
loud.
that they had. It's loud. And I think that Minnesota definitely has a chip on their shoulder, but this is kind of I know it's a homer bet, but I watch all the games and this is my best feel of probably any of the weekend slate games, or the 5 games I should say. How many there are? 4 or 5 wild card weekend.
So you're definitely going with the Giants.
Yeah, give me if you want to give me the 3, I'll take the 3.
And you're going to go with the under?
Under
Under 47?
Under, yeah.
I do too. I like the under, and I came in here this morning before I spoke to Seth.
He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's
Well-
got one guy who's a Giants fan, the other one.
No, I mean, and the thing is I figured I was gonna that definitely the Vikings. I was gonna go for the Vikings, but you know what? The more I thought about it, the more I look at just the momentum overall. The fact that just 3 weeks ago the Giants lost on a heartbreaker 61-yard field goal. I think the Giants are going to come in.
Nobody gave the Giants a chance all year. They've
going
covered
with the Giants.
spreads all year.
I'm going with the Giants. And I'm not a Giants fan. I'm not a big New York fan, even though I grew up in New York State. So, yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one. All right, time-wise, we're getting a little short here. Let's get into the Ravens-Bengals at 6:15, the night game for Sunday night. 10-7 Ravens versus the 12-4 Bengals. Remember, the Bengals only had 16 games because their Buffalo game was nullified. The Bengals were a -9. Now you're saying is what, -13.5?
No, Bengals are at 8.5.
Oh, they're 8.5, so it's going the other way.
Yeah, that was the Bills game.
Okay.
We were misunderstood.
So the Bengal line opened at 9, and it has dropped then a little bit.
The more I think about it, this is another rivalry game. But the Ravens are a mess. They don't have a quarterback. Jackson's out. The backup I don't think is going to play. So
No, he's playing.
The backup is...
The Ravens backup is playing. He was called eligible this morning on ESPN, I heard it.
This is my one big spread. I don't like taking big spreads, rivalry games, playoffs.
Tyler Huntley is playing.
I am taking the Bengals here, 8.5.
I'm taking the Bengals too. The Bengals have righted the ship. They've totally righted the ship. I'm not a Bengals fan. My brother is. He's been a Bengal fan since 74, 75. I don't know how he's stuck with him for so long, but he does. He likes him. I think the Bengals are going to win. This is a big AFC North rivalry. Both teams hate each other. And, if the Steelers were playing, the Steelers would probably beat both of these teams, but they just weren't eligible.
Over-under is 40.5. Everything in that conference has been under. They've gone up to 40. I don't know why stupid me would take the over, but it's been under everything last 5 weeks in that conference.
Yeah, but it's playoffs. It's the playoffs, and we should see what happens. I think the Bengals come out, and you're going to see them hit early and often. All right, our last game: Tom Brady and his Bucks versus the Cowboys. 12-5 Cowboys, 8-9 Bucks. The game is in Tampa Bay. Bucks, and this is a quote from one of the CBS analysts. Bucks are great at avoiding mistakes and are able to win close ball games. The Cowboys are out there practicing right now to try to do the same. The Bucks when they met, these two teams played week 1. If you guys remember, this is the game where Dak injured his thumb. The Bucks ended up winning 19-3. Dak was out for 5 weeks. Dallas's defense leads the NFL with 33 takeaways. But the bad part is that Dak Prescott leads the NFL in frequencies of interceptions, with 14 interceptions, a league leader in only 11 games played.
He's mental at this point. The better team is the Cowboys, but does the misery continue for the Cowboys? I say yes, I do. They're playing a team that has not good record, but everything's gone against Tom this year. I think the Cowboys' misery continues. Dak has just been pick after pick. If they can get him managed, if they can run the ball, which I think their plan is going to be, but I don't see the Tampa defense as being soft. The offense isn't great, but they have they have sparks, they have moments. I'm taking the 2.5, and I'm hoping that the Cowboy misery continues.
Well, and this is me being a Steeler fan, and me getting my butt handed to me by Tom Brady so many playoff games. I know better than to go against Tom Brady in the playoffs. And unfortunately, I'm rooting for the Cowboys, but I'm picking the Bucs.
Take the 2.5.
Yeah, I'm not even worried about that. I would do it as just a money line pick if I had, if I was betting this game. What's the over/under again?
45.5.
What do you feel about that?
I'm leaning under. Don't ask me why.
Interesting.
I'm not big in the over/unders. If I see something that stands out, then I'll bet it. My picks are mostly on spreads, but it's just fun to go through the over/unders and think about it. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Under for me. I think it'll be
I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I think that you're going to see that Tampa Bay is going to score. They're going to score. And Dallas is going to have to score as well. And I think that's going to push it up over that 47. So, excellent. All right. Well, we're a little long today. So I'm going to go into the women's portion of this real quickly. And I just want to tell you guys thank you for listening. The LinkedIn crowd has been incredible. Getter, Rumble crowd, Facebook. You guys, thank you for your comments. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it very much. We are somewhere between about 2,000 and 2,500 watches each week. So Brothers is happy about that, and we just want to encourage you to keep watching. Let's talk a little bit about women's skiing. Okay, we've been talking about our local hometown, even though she's not home state girl, Michaela Schifrin. She won her 82nd downhill alpine slalom. That ties her with Lindsey Vaughn, who is also a Vail native. So both these ladies grew up together. Of course, Lindsey Vaughn is a little bit older. So, of course, Michaela Schifrin has been watching her and trying to get to that number. Remember, she is still 4 short of Ingramar Stenmark of Sweden. Now, those of you who don't remember who she is, she skied from 1973 to 1989, and she has 86. So that is the standard that Michaela Schifrin will pass, but that right now is the top woman in the world as far as victories go. Last week, as we said in the opening, Alyssa Thompson did go number 1 in the NSWL soccer draft. She'll be playing for Angel City, which I believe is LA. We had a lady, Savannah Kuhlman. She's a forward for CU. She was drafted in the 4th round. She'll be going to the defending NWSL champion Washington Spirit in the 37th pick. So good job, Savannah, and hope you're doing well up there at Boulder and graduate and do extremely well next season. I want to bring to your attention one last thing. I keep mentioning Just Women's Sports. Folks, if you haven't checked this website out, please go do it. It was founded by a lady named Haley Rosen, and they have a podcast. And this podcast is interesting. I watched 3 of them this week, and it's Kelly O'Hara. Who's Kelly O'Hara? Well, she happened to be the girl who did the header goal for the Washington Spirit, and she's the leader of that team. And ended up winning the championship this year. But she does a really good job with her podcast. Matter of fact, she calls us regularly and wants to come on our podcast. We're going to probably do a switch back and forth and maybe fly out and
switcheroo?
A little switcheroo, a little back and forth.
All right.
I'm just kidding, Kelly. But if you are interested in coming on our show, we'll make room for you. And if you ever want us on your show, we will definitely come to you.
Just kick him off, and you could slide in right here, and we'll get Seth back up here.
Well, she's a lot better looking than me anyway. So, Kelly did a wonderful thing. She led her team to 12 straight victories, and again, it led them to that victory in overtime, which they don't call it overtime in soccer, they call it extra time. But that header was what won them the championship. So if you get a chance, Kelly O'Hara, the JustWomen.com sports podcast is where you want to go for women's sports. I heard a very disturbing fact. You realize that the media, all the sports that we have on media, only 4% of the media covers women's sports. That's one of the reasons why the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew and featuring today Patrick the Picker. Again, Patrick, go to TrickPicks4121 on Instagram.
Trick 4121. I haven't been.
Is it 4121?
We've been busy and I haven't been able to really get up there.
Okay.
But
you need to make a commitment to this audience and make sure you're putting your picks in, even if they're just a little bit.
You got to add me first. I'm a private account.
Oh, okay. But anyways,
Can't have any stalkers out there.
You'll get a chance to see a lot of nice stadium shots.
No, it's I don't put up a whole lot, but yeah, I do a lot about my travels when we have stuff. I'm not going to show you what I'm eating for lunch because nobody cares what I'm eating for lunch.
No one cares.
But I will definitely show you stadiums and
Absolutely.
Coming up, show you some Alaska.
It's a good page. I've gone through it, and that's the only reason I'd mention it here, folks, because you go in there and you get a chance to get a little bit of Patrick on a day-to-day basis and listen to his knowledge and learn some good picks. His buddy Danny picked some teams last night when they were in here sitting and won some money. So it's unheard of, folks, to listen to Patrick and Trick Picks right here.
All about the Monday.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, good to be back. Try to get rolling here with the new year. Everybody kind of got tied up. I got tied up at work and a little bit of chaos. And
Well, we're happy to be here in 2023. And
happy you guys are with us.
Yes, come back and watch us. We'll be here again next week. Patrick will be with us. The week following, we're going to drag Seth up here. We're going to talk some serious hockey. But in the meantime, folks, as I say each week, get out there, get your side hustle on, and earn it. All right, thank you so much. Come on down to Brothers. We'll be here for the rest of the afternoon. Come on in and I'll buy you a beer. All right, folks, we'll see you next week. Thank you again.